This is a crowded public place in California in 1845. In fact, it's a traffic jam. And this is a crowded public place in California in 1860. Thanks to the gold rush and the steamship, California was turned almost overnight into a bustling U.S. state, with people pouring in from all over the globe. It was an instant cultural kaleidoscope, unprecedented in human history. Many Americans who traveled west in search of gold were deeply engaged in the great quarrel between North and South. In the crisis of 1861, there was grave danger that California would fall into a Kansas-style nightmare of partisan warfare. This is the story of California's transformation, from sleepy colonial outpost to pivotal player in the convulsive upheaval that almost destroyed the United States.
A visitor stepping ashore in Monterey in 1845 would have seen a pastoral environment sprinkled with small Mexican settlements. If she had ventured to the northern forests or the Sierra, our visitor would have found those remote regions still under the control of folks like these. For the indigenous peoples of California, the effect of European contact was catastrophic. Diseases against which they had no defense resulted in devastating population loss and a complete cultural unraveling. The Franciscan friars who founded California's missions saw themselves as rescuers of souls, but the practical effects of their campaign were often damaging. Some Indios were press-ganged into the mission labor force, and those who didn't give up their traditional lifestyle were in serious trouble. Brutal repression often caused Indian resentment to boil up into violence. One Indian resistor called Gonzalo was put in leg irons and ended up sawing off his heels with a knife to get free.
If our imagined visitor had asked, "Who's in charge here?" she would have been referred to this gentleman. He is a ranchero. He raises cattle on huge land grants and sells the hides to coasting traders. He and his class run California pretty much as they like, with very little help or direction from Mexico City. That was because the land route between Alta California and Mexico was extremely difficult and dangerous. Sometimes only one heavily guarded expedition passed back and forth in a year. For the handful of soldiers assigned to California, it was a hardship post, so miserable that 2 soldiers from Old Mexico, who were convicted of rape, were sentenced to California. A rich trade in sea otter furs sparked British, Russian, and American interest in the Pacific coast. On the left is a gift medallion of the Russian-American Trading Company. On the right is a Tlingit interpretation of the Russian emblem as a rattle. From a military standpoint, Mexican California was defenseless, just a prize ripe for the picking. Both Britain and the United States offered to buy the province, but Mexico refused to sell.
Expansionism was a popular policy back in Washington. In 1843, John C. Fremont was sent to explore the far west. Fremont's declared mission was to find the best route to speed immigration to Oregon, to forestall the British who also claimed the area. Since he just happened to be in the neighborhood, Fremont decided to drop by and visit California. What he found there sent him back to Washington full of enthusiasm. By 1846, Fremont was back in California, at the head of 60 heavily armed surveyors. His orders were never made public, but on June 14th of that year, Yankee settlers in Sonoma raised the Bear flag of revolt under Fremont's protection.